have no idea where this will lead us, but I have a definite feeling it will be a place both wonderful and strange.
Twin Peaks turns 36 years old this month. And you may have heard of Twin Peaks from your weird coworker, your weird barista, or your weird dental hygienist. All of them telling you how much you just have to watch the series. Here's the deal. Twin Peaks is one of the most challenging pieces of media ever created. It simply isn't for everybody. In this video, I want to have an honest conversation with you about Twin Peaks before you decide to commit 50 to 100 hours of your life to something that you might literally hate in the end. Welcome to Screaming Queen with James Tison. In this video, we're gonna help you figure out whether you should be joining us weirdos in the Black Lodge or if you should be running in the opposite direction. Now, if you've already watched some Twin Peaks but find yourself stalled somewhere, this video is still for you. For you folks, you might want to jump to this time code in this video because that's where things really get relevant again for you. I am going to keep this video spoiler free, but I will be talking about some of the emotional ups and downs that you can expect as a Twin Peaks viewer without going into specific plot points. However, I am going to talk about the central premise of the show that's established in the first 10 minutes of the pilot, as well as including clips here and there for vibes and humor. So if any of those things are too spoiler adjacent for you, then turn this video off now and go watch Twin Peaks. But the rest of you stay here. Okay, for everyone who's left, let's dig in! Should you watch the entirety of Twin Peaks? Well, first let's ask, what even is Twin Peaks? Now, I'm not going to spend too much time on this because you probably already know. There's a bunch of YouTube videos that can walk you through the legacy and all of that. And let's face it, your weird barista probably gave you the whole gist anyway.
Laura Palmer, they find her body, and it's like the first 30 seconds of the thing. She's wrapped in a plastic bag.
But I'm going to tell you literally how many episodes and eras there are to watch. The first era is the original television run that started in April of 1990. Mark Frost and David Lynch unleashed a 90-minute pilot on America that set up a central mystery with the murder of a teenage girl, Laura Palmer.
But here's Laura. She was the high school prom queen. May she rest. God knows who did her in, but we've got several thousand suspects.
Who killed Laura Palmer is the central mystery for the 8-episode first season and a pretty big chunk of the 22-episode second season. So that original television run is 30 episodes altogether. Then in 1992, David Lynch released a prequel film to the original TV series called Fire Walk with Me that's about 2.5 hours long.
Fire Walk with Me, which is a film I love, but I think you could safely say it did not
the critics didn't
go
love it
over so well.
Then, 25 years later, David Lynch and Mark Frost teamed up again, this time with Showtime as their producers, to craft an 18-hour third season called Twin Peaks: The Return. All in all, it's about 50 hours long. Sounds easy, right? What is that, like 4 seasons of Friends? Wrong. So wrong. What starts out as a straightforward murder mystery becomes a convoluted maze of nightmares and dream logic that feels downright impenetrable at times.
What is going to come back in style.
Now, as much as I want everybody to love Twin Peaks as much as I do, I actually think it is wildly irresponsible to go around just being like, you should watch Twin Peaks! With absolutely no follow-up whatsoever. Are you crazy? Maybe it's my neurodivergent tendency to info dump, but I really think people need to know what they're signing up for. So I've broken it down to 4 key things you need to consider or ask yourself before deciding to take this on.
By way of explaining what we're about to do, I am first going to tell you a little bit about the country called Tibet.
So the first question is this your introduction to Twin Peaks, Or is this your introduction to David Lynch? Because those are two very different things. If you've never watched anything that David Lynch has made, there's actually a pretty good argument that Twin Peaks is a great starting point. It is sort of in the middle of his career, more or less, and it is the merging of a lot of his artistic sensibilities that came before and after. On the other hand, if you really have no context whatsoever for David Lynch's work, I don't even know what to say to describe it. It's weird.
Radical, it's otherworldly, and it's Pollyanna.
I feel like David encourages one to go into dark places inside of them and see what's going on and to embrace them, that's beautiful, that's good.
And it's hilarious. I mean, there are moments in Blue Velvet, there's some of the funniest things I've ever seen.
It does kind of make the argument that maybe you should watch at least one other of his films before taking on Twin Peaks. If Eraserhead or Blue Velvet make you want to pour boiling hot coffee in your own face, then I don't think you'll like Twin Peaks. You know, maybe stick with Marvel movies. Or Emily in Paris. Whatever brings you comfort, no disrespect. I could literally make an 18-hour YouTube video about what it takes to prime your brain for David Lynch.
I wouldn't have enough time to tell you how much I love it. Why?
You know, at the end of the day, you are just gonna have to experience it for yourself and see how it feels. But I will say this, if there's one primary lesson that I personally have taken after 14 years of engaging with his work that helps me kind of navigate it when his style becomes its most challenging, it's this. I think it's very helpful to know that Lynch started out as a painter.
David Lynch started as a painter, but his desire to make his paintings move brought him to filmmaking. He devoted 4 years to making Eraserhead, and his dedication paid off.
And painting led to cinema. But I see them both not exactly the same, but like film is moving paintings, but with sound.
I mean, even the look of the show isn't like a basic flat white light, you know, everything's got, it's all painted. It's like kind of like art.
So this is a filmmaker whose work is defined by masterful compositions that essentially are paintings, and oftentimes excruciatingly slow pacing, because his work is essentially paintings come to life. Now, when you also know that Lynch's spiritual, creative, and artistic life centered around meditation.
I practice transcendental meditation as taught by Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. You can meditate anywhere, anytime, day or night.
You come to understand that really what he wants is for you to meditate with his paintings and derive your own meaning from it. So when you find yourself watching what are literally some of the slowest scenes ever committed to film, I'd hold on to that.
What's important, people should know and remember the word transcend means go beyond. Get to the treasury within each one of us.
Now, if you have absolutely no interest in meditating on anyone's work or deriving your own meaning from anything, then bail now. You will hate Twin Peaks. Now listen, some of you might be saying, just let people watch the show and figure it out for themselves. And you know what? Fair. Do what you want, you little jerk-offs. All I want to avoid is people watching it when they weren't ready and then going to social to say some form of, Twin Peaks is awful. Who would recommend this to me? I hate David Lynch. Especially now that David Lynch is dead. And like, even then, do what you want. All I'm saying is, you're gonna have a horrible time if you enter Twin Peaks or David Lynch with the same set of expectations that you would bring to a mainstream piece of content. And that leads me to the next consideration. What is your tolerance for Arthouse? If you're in the camp of folks who have watched some of Twin Peaks but found yourself stalled, this is where you're gonna wanna tune back in, because this is the question that everyone's gonna have to ask themselves to gauge whether or not you're really in it for the long haul. For the sake of illustrating this point, I'm gonna draw a dichotomy between mainstream and Arthouse. Now, I'm really not trying to pick on Marvel movies. I kinda like some of them, but that's mainstream, baby. God love them. They're designed to go down easy. Digestible, they don't challenge the audience's sense of form or narrative. Sure, they might stir emotions. I sobbed at Endgame. Are you kidding? Then there's Arthouse, a category of film that's literally named after the independent art house cinemas that feature this kind of film. And they're usually the anti-Marvel movie. They're often very challenging, sometimes very slow, and they're often not thinking about the audience's experience at all. Not all mainstream is bad, and not all art house is good, let me tell you. I don't like all art house. Are you kidding me? Some of it is so pretentious and so up its own butt. Now, having said that, I absolutely know that my tolerance is so much higher than the average person's. Give me a plotless meditation on the futility of existence, right? Like, no dialogue. Mwah, love it. Give me like a 3-minute long, slow fade on just like a sad old woman. Give me a Swedish married couple who hate each other for 4 hours. That's a movie.
Kylan. Likviditeten.
I'm saying all of this because David Lynch is one of many forefathers of American art house cinema. But Twin Peaks, in particular, is where his sensibilities met the mainstream. Twin Peaks truly is the fusion of mainstream pop art and independent art house cinema, especially for the first season and a half. By the time you get to Fire Walk with Me, all of the elements that kind of make Twin Peaks go down easy pretty much dissipate.
The critics didn't love it. Go over so well. But I'm hoping that someday people would take another look at that film.
From Fire Walk with Me on, it is slow and borderline antagonistic towards an audience's desire to have a firm narrative. So, how's that sound to you? Arthouse is not for everybody, and to be clear, it wasn't even always for me. Remember when I said I wanted to have an honest conversation? I'm gonna be honest with you. Is this a safe space for honesty? Because honestly, I hated Twin Peaks. That's right, I loathed it for 5 years. I picked up Twin Peaks in a 2012 Netflix binge, having never watched a single David Lynch movie with absolutely no context for what I was getting into. I loved the first season. I mostly loved the first half of the second season, and then things take a turn.
What is happening with the show? It's been on ABC now for 2 years, so where do we stand now?
Well, we've been, those popularity polls, we've been decreasing in them steadily.
Mm-hmm.
And then I got to Fire Walk with Me, and I said, go yourself, David Lynch. I was done, not just with Twin Peaks, but with David Lynch. And at that point, there wasn't a third season to continue. But looking back, I had no context for his work, and my brain was on the content train. I wanted that mystery solved, and when it was solved, I wanted another clear mystery. I wanted a firm narrative, I wanted a consistent tone, all which are fair things to want, but that this show's not gonna give you by the end. There's a lot I wish I'd known as a viewer, and in many ways, this video is the video I wish I'd had in 2012. But that's life.
You know, life doesn't always make sense at all.
Mm-hmm.
So why do we expect art to?
And it brings me to my next point. It may take you absolutely forever to get through the whole thing, and that's okay. My own experience with Twin Peaks was as non-linear as it gets. It's not just that I didn't like Fire Walk with Me when I watched it in 2012. I didn't finish the movie. I made it like 30 minutes in, maybe 45, before deciding that David Lynch hates me personally, James Tison, as a viewer. And I hate him right on back.
I believe in very strong films, and I don't apologize to them one bit as long as there's a balance, you know, to the thing.
So when the third season came out in 2017, still having not watched any of his other movies, I begrudgingly decided, let's give it a try. And I went in saying to myself, this man does not care about my expectations or hopes or desires for this story as a viewer. He doesn't care. And even though I probably wouldn't quite phrase it like that now, something about going into that series just knowing that I was gonna get like zero fan service and maybe negative fan service made it the best season of television I've ever seen. It blew my mind because I think I was finally ready to submit. I came back around on Firewalk with Me.
But I'm hoping that someday people would take another look at that film.
I was so wrong. Oh my God, I was wrong. And a lot of people were. I do think it's why his fan base can feel like such a cult sometimes, because so many of us who really, really love the work and the man probably didn't like him so much for a minute. And that's okay. All of that is to say is, if you decide to go down this road, just know that it can be long and winding. Take breaks, don't rush, and for that matter, make sure you're hydrated. Get a good meal in you.
Get a lot of good coffee, though, and some good food.
Especially before you watch Firewalk with Me. You're gonna want to bring your A game as a viewer. Now there's one last thing you're gonna want to consider before you dive into this journey, and I don't have a super fun transition to it because unfortunately, it's a trigger warning. Content warning for sexual assault. Listen, I said earlier how I think it's irresponsible to go around being like, "You should watch Twin Peaks!" with absolutely no context whatsoever, and while part of the reason I feel that way is that, yeah, it's challenging, it's slow, you might hate it. The biggest reason I feel that way is there's a lot of sexual assault.
I really like the show, but I find when I watch it, it makes me nervous. Do you get nervous, throughout your, do you get that undercurrent of how that feels?
It's discussed a lot. It's portrayed on screen several times throughout the entire run. Let me be clear, I'm not bringing this up as a matter of film criticism of David Lynch or Twin Peaks. In fact, on an intellectual or academic level, I would argue that David Lynch's portrayal of those themes and subject matters come from a deep place of empathy.
We're attacking films for violence and not doing a whole lot in the world for violence. And film is a safe place to have experiences.
There's a moral clarity to the way that David Lynch handles something as difficult as teen sexual assault that strips it of anything resembling sensationalism.
When I watch Firewalk with Me now, as a mother, I watch it and I think, look at all those signs that were being exhibited.
Violence exists. It has a major part in a lot of fantastic stories. If it was championing violence, it would be one thing, and I don't think this film is.
In fact, his work really explores the ways that a whole community can be complicit in cycles of abuse and violence without, I think, ever exploiting the victim.
And look at all these people that were in her life. What would have happened if somewhere, somehow, someone could have helped or stopped it? That's hard to watch.
At the end of the day, sometimes you don't want to watch a story about sexual assault. Separate from film criticism or cinematic discourse, you have to navigate for your own heart what you want to take on in this world. On a personal level, I have my own sexual trauma that I really wasn't even remotely healed from in 2012, and I do think that that raw wound directly informed my ability to engage with that movie. And you know what? Fair. I may have been wrong in my critical assessment, but I was probably right that I needed to take a break from Twin Peaks for a while. But returning to it in 2017 was really fulfilling for me. And then on my third rewatch of the third season in 2021, I felt like I finally started to get it. And I ended up having what I would describe as the most spiritual experience I've ever had engaging with a piece of art, regardless of form or medium. That's right. You heard me. The third rewatch is when I started to get it. So you tell me.
Should you watch Twin Peaks?
Twin Peaks is one of the most fulfilling viewing experiences I've had in my entire life, but it has been a 14-year journey to get to this point. So if you're not up for that journey, then fair, hats off to you. But if you're one of the mighty, then grab yourself a slice of cherry pie, pour yourself a cup of black coffee, and strap in for the ride of your friggin' life. Thank you for watching. This has been Screaming Queen, where I review, hot take, and deep dive into all my favorite nerd and horror franchises. Hit that like and subscribe button, baby, and I'll see you next week.